What's really good? What's really good? What's really good? You already know what time it is. Wednesday nights with the Sanchez Show. As always, I'm your host, Eric Sanchez, aka Legend of Two Games. Make sure you are subscribed to the podcast. We go live every Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. over on YouTube, Facebook, and on Instagram now. We appreciate you guys. We're locked in, man. We got NBA free agency. We have the Diddy trial, obviously, that we got to get to. That's the first question of the night. Shout out to Pooh. That was the first question of the night. We're going to get to that. I'm going to get the NBA stuff out the way first, guys. Because I know once we get to the Diddy conversation, the language, the tone, the energy is going to be a little different. So let's get the NBA stuff out the way first. Shout out to my brother Will Gordon as well. It is his son's birthday. So I don't think he'll be joining us, but Will, you already know if you, for whatever reason, want to pop in, you're more than welcome to. And that goes for anybody, honestly. We don't care if somebody want to watch and tap in, they can tap in. Let's get to it. It's not. But again, make sure you guys are subscribed. Every Wednesday night we do this. We're getting close to the football season, so we're going to get into a little bit more football talk as now we transition into July. It is a holiday weekend as well. Hope everyone is safe out there. Shout out to my brother Trip Young. He might be popping in later as well on the live. But it is Wednesday, July 2nd. NBA really started to heat up yesterday, and then we got this Diddy information today, or the verdict, I should say, today. And again, Pooh, we're going to get to that in a second. It is the first comment of the night, but we're going to get to that in a minute. There's a lot of Diddy comments in here. But let's get to NBA conversation. We're a week removed from the NBA draft. We see how teams have positioned themselves and the type of moves they're making. And this is, for the NBA, this is something that started to really happen over the last, I want to say 15, maybe 17 years, where the season ends and they line it up so beautifully that free agency, the draft and free agency and 4th of July weekend all kind of align. And so we get a lot of breaking news around this time. It was one of the things I said on Real Fans Real Talk on Monday, where I said this weekend, I expected the Knicks to announce their head coach. That's what we got. I expected a lot of movement as free agency officially opened up yesterday. That's what we got. I think we're going to get some trades happening as well now. A lot of shocking news. Let's get to the comments. Let's get to some of the things we've already noticed in free agency. Starting with today's real headline in the NBA. Shout out to Tyson. He says, soft DeAndre Drummond signs with the Lakers. Thoughts? It's a solid move for the Lakers. It's one of the things that I've been mentioning. They needed a big. They had to upgrade from Jackson Hayes. They were able to do that with DeAndre Ayton. Am I a fan of DeAndre Ayton? Not really. I feel he's a bit overrated. But for the Lakers, it makes sense. Again, it is an obvious upgrade at a position that they need to be better at, first and foremost. He was one of the guys that was mentioned by our supporters on Monday about could he be a good fit for the Golden State Warriors. No, I didn't like him for the Warriors. I like him for the Lakers just because of what they have on their team already and what they're trying to do with Luka and now LeBron opting in for $52 million this year. He'll be solid. Now, if you're an Ayton fan or if you're a Laker fan, you're probably gonna reference his time in Phoenix with Chris Paul, those 2 seasons they played together, and how efficient he was and how good he looked in that setting, as opposed to the totality of his career, which has been a little bit underwhelming, if we're gonna call it anything. I mean, he was the guy who was the number 1 pick. Ironically, him and Luka were in the same draft. Looking back on it, obviously Luka should have went number 1 in that draft. But DeAndre Ayton, his best seasons were with a legitimate point guard who could facilitate and get him involved. That's what he has now with the Lakers. So you would think that his efficiency and his productivity will be better than it was the last 2 seasons in Portland and for most of his career. Like I said, his best seasons were with a legitimate point guard. He gets that now. He also is in a situation as the 3rd best option on the team, which is a situation and a scenario that he thrived in Phoenix when it was Devin Booker's team and Chris Paul was probably the 2nd best player. Maybe Ayton was the 2nd best player, but Paul was the 2nd most important player on the team. And DeAndre Ayton is kind of the 3rd option, really thrived and looked good during their finals run. So that's what the Lakers are banking on. They're banking on the leadership of LeBron and Luka, the playmaking of Luka, their ability to kind of allow Ayton to be the 3rd guy and let him thrive in that setting. I still think the Lakers need more shooting. I don't know how they're going to find that shooting. Defensively, they still have some issues. I think Ayton is an above average defender at the center position. But their perimeter defense is still lacking because Braun isn't a great perimeter defender. We know Luka is not a great perimeter defender, and neither is Austin Reeves. So defensively, they still going to have a lot of issues. They got to find the right lineups to make this work with Ayton on that team, because I don't feel they have enough shooting on their current roster to make this work. But he is an upgrade, and I think it's a quality move for the Lakers. Tyson also wants to know, keeping it out west, talk about the Denver Nuggets free agency. Man, they back in the top 3. They added depth and shooting. Remember, they took Thunder to game 7, or 7 games too. Absolutely. And I 1,000% agree. The Denver Nuggets have had a great offseason. Bruce Brown coming back. I know that'll get a lot of press, and people will wonder if he can be as efficient and as good as he was when they won the championship a couple seasons ago. That remains to be seen because it's a different coaching staff. So stylistically, we got to see how he's able to fit back in. But the other moves they made, I think, are perfect. To be able to get Cam Johnson to play the minutes that Michael Porter had there. Michael Porter, as an individual player, is probably better than Cam Johnson. But in terms of what that team needs, Cam Johnson is the perfect fit and a better fit than Michael Porter Jr. Getting Tim Hardaway Jr., though, to me, is the move that really solidifies them as a top 3 team in the West, probably a top 4 team overall in the league, and really makes them a threat to stay in contention and challenge OKC or challenge the Houston Rockets, who, in my opinion, are the second best team. I think that the free agency of the Nuggets makes them slightly better than Dallas. I think on paper, Dallas looks great, but there's a lot of injury concerns there. And obviously, you don't know how quickly Cooper Flag is going to be an impact player. I think Cooper Flag is going to be good, but like most rookies, he's going to have his ups and downs. This Denver team now that they've been able to kind of solidify the pieces around Joker, around Murray, around Gordon, to bring in the shooting that they've been able to bring in now, to bring in the versatility that they've been able to bring in now and add that depth again to this team. I like them. I like Denver a lot, and I think they've had a great offseason as well. They kind of retooled on the fly. We thought they would retool. I teased it 2 weeks ago on Real Fans Real Talk. I said some combination of guys won't be there. I said it's either going to be Michael Porter Jr., it'll be Murray, or it will be Aaron Gordon. One of those 3 guys would not be there. Michael Porter Jr. was the guy who they sent out on draft night to be able to get Cam Johnson, and they've retooled very, very quickly. All right. Let's see what else we got. Will Gordon says Lakers about to trade LeBron to the Knicks so he can get Mike Brown fired again. So Mike Brown is the Knicks coach. The news came down today. I'm not overly thrilled about it, and I'll get to that in a second. But LeBron won't get traded. I was thinking the same thing, Will. Again, shout out to my brother, Will Gordon. I wish he'd be on the live tonight. But I was originally thinking the same thing. Like, Mike Brown getting a job gives a whiff. There's a certain smell in the air that maybe the Knicks make the trade for LeBron and go all in to try to not only win the East, but see if they could win it all. I think Vegas kind of thought the same thing, because if you look at the odds, coming into today, Cleveland has slightly better odds than the Knicks to come out of the East. Now with the Mike Brown hiring, the Knicks have kind of jumped ahead of Cleveland. I don't think Mike Brown is that significant of a head coach that he would change the odds of who's the best team in the East. I think on roster or on paper, I like the Knicks roster a little bit more, but I can understand why Cleveland would be ahead, because Kenny Atkinson is a good head coach. And you also think that Cleveland, adding Lonzo Ball, maybe they have another move in place. But adding Mike Brown, to me, I don't think should have swung the odds. And I think maybe Vegas is thinking the same thing, that the Knicks are going to be in the mix for LeBron James. I don't think they will, though, after the news of DeAndre Ayton signing. I think DeAndre Ayton signing is a prime example of what Rich Paul was hinting at the other day of, oh, we're monitoring things and we want to still try to win it and compete for a championship. It's all bullshit from Rich Paul anyway. You opted in to $52 million so that you can kind of control what team you get traded to, because there wasn't much free agency money out there for you. LeBron wasn't going to get a major contract from any team, first and foremost. And that's not breaking news. Bobby Marks kind of said the same thing on ESPN the other day when he opted in and said, yeah, there really isn't much interest from other teams who who were going to sign him or even possibly put a package together to trade for him. So he took the safe route. I'll take the $52 million. I can always finagle my way out of LA to another team that is interested in trading for me, right? And I can still get to a title contender if things don't work out here. I think adding DeAndre Ayton is going to settle things down, and LeBron is going to want to stay there, knowing that with DeAndre Ayton, they're probably a top 5 team in the West. I think the 3 most obvious teams, as I mentioned, OKC, Houston, Denver, Dallas are fully healthy. Those are your top 4 out West. And then for 5, there's going to be the battle in LA, or in California, I should say. Lakers, Clippers, Golden State. Those teams are going to battle it out. And then Minnesota. That kind of sounds like your 8 playoff teams right there in some form or fashion. So if everything is equal, if injuries don't creep in, the Lakers are in the mix to be the 5th or 6th seed. Injuries can change things, obviously. Trades moving forward can change things, but as currently constructed, they probably feel like they can be a 5th or 6th seed in the West and put themselves in position to make a playoff run. Like I said, I still got 4 teams better than them, significantly better than them. But the Lakers probably feel good about where they're at today. And I think LeBron feels good about where they're at today. I don't think LeBron is going to force his way out. Not yet, anyway. Tyson got a lot of good questions tonight. Since we're talking LeBron and Mike Brown, let's get back to that. Mike Brown is your Knicks head coach. How do you feel? Mike Brown is a solid NBA head coach. I'm not going to shit on Mike Brown. I'm not going to act like Mike Brown career record. He's, I think, about 120 wins over 500. He's had a solid career. Yes, I know people are going to point out and say a large chunk of that was with LeBron James in Cleveland. Absolutely. But Mike Brown still did a good job with his tenure in LA. He did a good job with his tenure in Sacramento. He also was on that Golden State bench for a lot of years and learned a lot of new offenses in Golden State, which he displayed when he was the coach of the Sacramento Kings. Now, Sacramento's ownership and their front office really fucked up that situation because they went from a young developing team with Fox and Sabonis and Keegan Murray to then trading away Fox. And now you see they are actually dangling Keegan Murray and possibly even Sabonis in the trade. So things in Sacramento went left. That was not Mike Brown's fault. If I'm the Knicks, I'm hiring Mike Brown because I feel like offensively he can bring in a style and a philosophy that fits with our current roster. As a Knicks fan, like I said, I'm not thrilled about it because I don't think I've seen enough of Mike Brown to make me feel like he's the head coach that can handle the New York media and handle everything that comes with the expectations. Again, like I said, the Knicks now are the favorites to come out of the East. They have the second best odds to win the NBA championship next year. This is according to Vegas. Can Mike Brown handle that pressure? Can he handle that expectation? And the reason I say I don't know if he can handle that is because I saw him with LeBron James, and they had a couple bad playoff flameouts. And this is when LeBron James was already the best player in the East, and they had some bad playoff losses. I saw him in LA, and he didn't really handle the media too well there. So in New York, it's going to be a different situation. So I think it's a very tough ask of Mike Brown to come in with the expectations to replace Tom Thibodeau, who a lot of people didn't want to see fired, and now come in and say, all right, not only do we want you to lead this team to a place that we have not been, mind you, we have not won a championship in over 50 years. We have not been to the NBA Finals in over 25 years. So now come in and take on those expectations and handle the New York media. I think it's a tough ask. There were some other guys I would have preferred. I said all along, I thought Mike Malone should have been the number 1 guy for the job. From what I've read and heard, Mike Malone was not the top candidate. Obviously, he didn't even interview for the job because the Knicks said they didn't want, again, this is what I read and heard, they didn't want somebody who was too similar to what Thibodeau was. They wanted somebody who was a little bit more progressive, a little more player-friendly, and somebody who can navigate the season with much more calm. The overall feeling within the New York Knicks organization was that there were too many highs and lows with Tom Thibodeau, and they needed somebody who was a little bit more stable across the board, somebody who was a little calmer across the board to handle the highs and lows of a season, and somebody who also was going to be a little bit more willing to incorporate the bench. Now, with that being said, Mike Brown is being handed a great roster. It's one of the best starting 5s in all of basketball, whether you start Mitchell Robinson or start Josh Hart. as a whole, the starting five is one of the best in basketball when you consider you got Jalen Brunson, you got Carlton Towns, you got OG, you got Bridges. They've added bench now. Jordan Clarkson coming over, being able to sign Yabusele. So now when you pair that with Miles McBride, and then again, whoever does not start between Josh Hart or Mitchell Robinson, you have a team that has the potential to go 9 deep, 10 deep off the bench. There's rumors that the Knicks are not done in free agency. We'll see how they navigate that part of it, because the salary cap going up $10 million. The Knicks are one of the few teams that's actually going to benefit, since they were only a first apron team. So now they have a little bit more room to operate under the second apron. We have not seen what the final numbers are on Jordan Clarkson, but that might play a factor. They're able to get him on a very team-friendly deal. They might still have enough room to go after another piece for this bench. We'll see. I've said all along, Malcolm Brogdon would be my ideal guy to come off the bench as the backup point guard on this team. If they can get Malcolm Brogdon, I'll feel very, very good about this team going into next season. As currently constructed, I like the roster. I like the team. Mike Brown is being handed probably the best team he's ever had. And that's not a knock on LeBron and the Cavs, but those Cavs teams weren't that good outside of LeBron and a player or two here or there. This is a team, again, that with a very good starting five, with their ability now to add a little bit of that bench, with the way that the East is so depleted, they have the opportunity now to go and win the East and be potentially an NBA title contender. Mike Brown gets the keys to a very, very good situation. I hope it works out. Will, I just saw your message. Give me one moment. I'm going to get that to you right now. Guys, bear with me. Will Gordon's going to try to join it live. So we're going to try to get him over here. Shout out to Ren. Ren, I see you on IG. He said, and I apologize, guys, I can't post the comments from IG over on this side, but he said, I wanted you guys to hire Dawn Staley. I like the idea of Dawn Staley, man. I really did. I thought it would have been very unique, but I think also well-deserved for Dawn Staley, someone who obviously has played at the highest level, has now coached at the highest level for quite some time. I think the issue with bringing in Dawn Staley wasn't anything to do with basketball related or NBA related, I should say. She is actually going to be part of the ownership group that is bringing a Philly team to the WNBA. And so I think there would have been a conflict of interest of her being the owner and then trying to coach an NBA team. So I think that's why they weren't able to do it. We'll check your email. I'm sending it over to your email right now. If you need to, text me, but I'm sending you an email right now with the link. So I think that was the holdup with Dawn Staley. I haven't heard officially if that's what stopped them from hiring Dawn Staley, but some of the tea leaves have been that she is focused on being part of that ownership group. She wasn't looking to kind of just remain a head coach, because they even asked her the question, would she be coaching that Philly WNBA team? And she said she's going to focus more on the coach on the ownership side as opposed to coaching. So maybe that's what happened there. Only time will tell if that was the only hiccup. We'll check your email. I just sent it over to you. We're going to try to get you on the live right now. Let's see what else we got. Again, guys, appreciate all the support. I see the comment section was going crazy tonight. Again, make sure you guys are subscribed to the Sanchez Show. We go live every Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. It's normally Will Gordon and myself. Tonight, Will Gordon is celebrating his son's birthday. Shout out to the young man on his birthday, man. Hope you're having a great day. Hope you're enjoying your day. Perfect timing, too, going into 4th of July weekend, too. Let's see what else we got. Let's see. Let's go back up. We're going to get to the football questions in a second. Tyson. The Atlanta Hawks have upgraded. And with the East being weak, they have a chance. Absolutely. I think they have more than a chance. I think the Atlanta Hawks have done great for themselves this offseason. Their ultimate ceiling, their success this year, might be tied into their health. Kristaps Porzingis has to be healthy. He really hasn't been healthy the last 2 years. That gets overlooked because Boston won a championship last season. So people kind of assume that he was a larger part of their success. But if you look back to the playoffs, he missed a lot of playoff games last year, and he did the same thing again this year. Last year, they were able to overcome it. This year, they were not. So they need healthy Kristaps Porzingis first and foremost. Same thing with Jalen Johnson, who was having a great season last year. I think Jalen Johnson is an all-star caliber guard in this league. They need him to be healthy. If they can keep those two guys healthy, they have a legitimate chance. But adding Luke Kennard, adding Nickeil Alexander-Walker, also keep in mind, they have a $25 million trade exemption that they can use in another move. So they can absorb another large contract with the right move, whether this offseason or if they decide to use that closer to the trade deadline. But they have moves to make. And I think they've been very smart this offseason. I believe Landry Fields is still their GM. So Landry Fields deserves a lot of credit for what he's been able to do and kind of revamping the roster very quickly. Trade exemption. And then, like I said, they picked up a very sneaky draft asset on draft night that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about. I've only heard certain people talk about it. But they were able to get an unprotected pick in next year's draft. It's whoever has the worst record between Milwaukee and New Orleans, because the pick came from New Orleans, but it was originally from Milwaukee as part of a pick swap. Whoever finishes with the worst record between those two teams, that pick goes to the Atlanta Hawks. So it's very possible they may have a top 10 pick next year because it's completely unprotected. That could be a top 5, top 10 pick next year that they could also use with that trade exemption to make another larger move if they want to. So I think the Atlanta Hawks have a great chance this upcoming season. Health is going to be the biggest factor. KP and Jalen Johnson, they can't afford those guys to be injured. They need those guys to be healthy. Give me 1 second, Will. I just sent you the link. Let me know if you're able to see it. But yeah, the Atlanta Hawks, I think, have done very well for themselves. Let's see. Let's get some other ones. Ron says, Eric and Will, I just seen an interview with Candace Parker and Cheryl Miller on Keyshawn Johnson's podcast. It was one of the best interviews ever. Check it out when you got free time. I definitely will. I will go on, now that you mention it, I will check it out after we do the live tonight. I got some free time. I'll go on in and I'll check it out. Bear with me, guys. I'm trying to get Will on the live. He got a few things he want to talk about real quick. But thank you, Ron. I'll definitely check that out as well. Ron says, you like the Knicks' current roster? Absolutely. As I highlighted, they've been able to get a bench without having to trade away pieces. I was very scared that the Knicks were going to have to use Josh Hart or Mitchell Robinson to fill out their bench. And like I said, depending on which direction you want to go, if you feel Mitchell Robinson needs to start, you could have dangled Josh Hart out there as trade bait and seeing if you can get some pieces for the bench. If you feel it's better with Josh Hart starting and Mitchell Robinson was expendable, you could have traded Mitchell Robinson and got some pieces for the bench. The fact that they didn't have to trade anybody and they were able to get somebody as quality of a scorer as Jordan Clarkson, Yabusele is an insurance policy. Yabusele is going to take the minutes that probably would have gone to Precious Achiuwa anyway. Yabusele is a probably better fit, 6'9" forward, versatile. He could play next to Cat. He could play next to Mitchell Robinson. I also like Yabusele better than some of the original conversations where people were mentioning Al Horford could be in the mix for the Knicks. But Al Horford at 40 years old, I didn't want that. I wanted somebody who's still a little bit younger, a little bit more athletic and more versatile at this point. I love Al Horford's passing ability. I love what he can give you offensively. But it's very limited in what he can give you at this point because, again, he's not a guy that can really be out on the floor for more than 15 minutes, 12 to 15, 18 minutes tops. With Yabusele, he's a guy who showed last year with Philly. There were times he started, obviously, when Embiid was out. He was giving him 11 points a game off the bench, much more versatile. He kind of parlayed what he was able to do in the Olympics into last season. Good to see. I like the signing. I like the Knicks roster overall, as I mentioned, with McBride. And, again, Mitchell Robinson or Josh Hart, whichever one of those guys doesn't start, is coming off your bench. Now you've got a rotation of 8 to 9 guys that you can trust. So Mike Brown, like I said, is getting a great roster at this point. I think overall one of the better rosters in all of basketball. I definitely think that their starting five is probably top 3, top 4. If we did a list of the best starting fives, you're going to put the Knicks in that conversation. So I think it's a great roster for Mike Brown. Tyson wants to know, is some days later, do you feel on paper Houston Rockets healthy can win the title? I know it's early. Absolutely, though. It's early, but I do. I love the Houston Rockets roster. I love the way they were able to go get Kevin Durant without having to mortgage too much of their future. They didn't give up Reed Shepard, who was their number one pick from last year. They didn't have to give up Tari Eason, who was their immediate replacement for Dylan Brooks. Jalen Green being traded was okay because it looked like Amen Thompson was kind of exceeding him anyway on the pecking order in Houston. They were able to keep Fred VanVleet, keep Jabari Smith, obviously Şengün, who was their all-star from last year. And now they added to their depth. Dorian Finney-Smith, Clint Capella, those guys are high-end insurance policies, as I said. I expect Ime Udoka to lean on the young guys during the regular season. But in some critical moments, as the season goes on, watch how he toys with the rotation. He's going to use some of those vets a little bit more because he knows they're a little bit more proven in some of those spots. But I love their roster. They got a great mix of young guys with the right vets. Shout out to Combo Sport. We had Combo on last week, and he talked about it. He feels that Reed Shepard might be the biggest benefactor. Reed Shepard and Cam Whitmore might be the biggest benefactors of Kevin Durant because of the spacing that Durant is going to create for those young guys to operate and score and play make now. So I love their roster. I said to start the show when we talked about Denver, I think Houston is the second best team in the West. I think they can go toe-to-toe with Oklahoma City. Will, let me know if you got the link. I just texted to you as well. I sent it to you by email and I texted to you. So let me know if you got it. Did y'all see LeBron James post a pic with a hat that says "Welcome home"? I hate this dude. I want to wring his neck. Go away. Listen, Tyson, that's the funniest comment of the night. There are a lot of people who feel that way. You're not the only one. If anybody was watching on Instagram, I just got an alert. I saw it for whatever reason. We got knocked off live. I'm going to set the live back up for Instagram. Just give me a moment, guys. We're going to get that back on as well, because I want to make sure that we go for the Diddy conversation, which is probably going to start within the next few minutes. LeBron James, this is becoming a circus with LeBron James at this point. And I think everyone kind of feels the same way you feel, Tyson, that it's a fucking joke at this point. All right. The Rich Paul comments about we want to play for championships. Sure you do. That's why you opted into $52 million, knowing that it was going to handicap the Lakers to make another move. That had nothing to do with championships. That had everything to do with LeBron's own selfish endeavors. All right, so that's first and foremost. Will, once you set up, give me a thumbs up and bring you on live. Secondly, the mysterious video that gets leaked of LeBron James when they're out eating. I believe they had a sushi bar, and he talks about Savannah wanting him to retire, and then, hey, I like what New York is doing out there. How ironic that video gets leaked right before you opt into the new deal, and you know that there's going to be a lot of movement within free agency, the trade market. Since when have we ever seen a video like that of LeBron James ever get leaked? Like, come on. It's a lot of bullshit from LeBron. Now he's back home at a charity golf event with a hat that says "Welcome home." When there are speculations, I'm bringing Will Gordon on now. Will, I'm going to bring you on, but I'm going to mute your mic real quick just so I can finish the point I'm making right here. When there's speculation that the Cavs may entertain a trade for LeBron James, I've heard it in multiple sources, multiple places. There's a lot of speculation that they may kick the tires on what it would take to bring him back home. So LeBron is trolling the fans, but it's also a lot of bullshit from LeBron James right now, a lot of diva antics. With that being said, I know there's a guy in that region who has a lot to say about LeBron James. It's my brother, Will Gordon, a.k.a. Mr. Unpopular Opinion. Let's bring him on the live real quick.
What it do, baby? How y'all feeling? Supporters, what's good with y'all, man? Always good to rock out with my man E and all the supporters of the Legend in Two Games, the opinionated ones, Real Fans, Real Talk. It's a whole network, man. We out here making moves. People take notice.
Yes,
what up?
Sir.
What up, E? What up? I can't stay long. You know, it's my little man birthday.
Hey,
but I couldn't not check in with you.
I know.
And he understood. He understood. I even said, yo, I said, you know, it's your birthday. You know, my man E will let you come on. He'll shout you out. He's like, he said, nah, I'm playing. So, you know what I'm saying? He playing with his toys, but he would rock with y'all, man. You already know how to go down.
It's already. I hope he's having a great birthday, man. And listen, I appreciate you. Like I told you, you ain't have to join the live, but whatever time you
Oh,
got,
I know. Yeah, we got a minute though, because I was trying to. We about to go out to hit the Texas Roadhouse up. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
He was like, nah. He was like, let me finish this drawing real quick. I was like, all right, let me go holler at the people real quick. So
Listen,
I got a few minutes.
You let me know. Do you want to talk Diddy or you want to get into some of these sports questions?
You know what? You know what I want to talk.
Let's talk Diddy.
And y'all, everybody to be rocking with this. Y'all know I rock with the sports, but for real, that ain't the news of the day.
No.
That ain't the news of the day, what's going on right now. And you know, that's what the beauty of, that's why y'all rock with E, is because he don't keep it just strictly sports and buttoned up like trying to be ESPN or whatever. We hit all topics over here. Or E hits all topics over here. So that's why I was like, yo, today I gotta carve out a couple minutes just to chime in with my man.
Nah, that's a fact. Listen, I put Pooh's comment up there because it was the first comment of the day.
What up, Pooh?
We lost the connection on Instagram, so I apologize to everybody over on Instagram. I'm gonna try to see if I can get the live set back up over there on that side. But Pooh wants to get our thoughts on the Diddy verdict. I'm gonna let you go first, Will. I'm gonna try to reconnect this live over on Instagram, but I'm gonna let you go first because I know you got limited time right now. So I'm gonna mute myself while you do that.
Yo, the thing is, E, it's like we tried to tell people last year when everything popped off, when all those allegations and everything was coming out, and everybody was like, "Whoa." The same thing that happened then. Like that's the thing. Like you see a whole lot of people backtracking now. There was throwing the ashes on Diddy, you know, like he was done. But we was keeping it from day one. We was like, hold up, you know what I'm saying? Like it's what's the crime? And now, no, first let me first Pooh. Let me first say, if he was doing like horrific things to females, I'm not with that at all. At all. I'm a girl dad. You know what I'm saying? It's my son's birthday, but I'm a girl dad. My girl's my firstborn. I'm a middle child between two sisters, and I got a mother. You know what I'm saying? So I respect women. If everything, like as we're saying now, a whole lot of the stuff that was being put on them wasn't really a thing. It was like, and it was that and when the charges came out last year, or was it almost 2 years now? My whole thing was, all right, well, if he did some fucked up shit, he did some fucked up shit, and he should be held accountable for it. But all the stories that was coming out was really just him being a freak. And at the time, I said, well, yeah, but being a freak ain't illegal. Like, I mean, he might be doing some wild stuff that most of us wouldn't do, but he wasn't really doing nothing illegal that was concrete. Now, did he beat Cassie's ass in the hotel? Yeah, he did. Like we saw that. Yeah, he did. Do I excuse that? Not at all. Like, but they were trying to make it more about something else, which is a bigger issue. Like, which is a bigger issue for women, especially Black women. Why was it that the focus? All the focus was on other issues, trying to bring them down federally. Where if you had focused your issues on the stuff that you could actually prove, and the stuff that actually was on film, and the stuff that you could actually, like, for real, from all the video evidence and other testimonies, Cassie might not even have to testify if they focused on the right things, but they were trying to make it about other things. You know what I'm saying? They were trying to crush all the buildings. They like, oh, domestic violence against another Black woman, sweeping under the rug like we do every other case like that in America. Wake up. Sweeping under the rug like every other case in America. We're going to try to get him on this RICO, which was garbage from beginning. It was a waste of time from the beginning. It was now is Diddy. I'm not admonishing him. I'm not exonerating him at all. What I am saying is they focused on the wrong thing. Like you could, if you really wanted to take him down, if you focused on the right things, you could have. But they focused on the wrong things, where it's more of a trying to tarnish him. That's the way. All right, I'm not saying it didn't try to tarnish him. He did some wild shit. But at the end of the day, they were trying to get him on charges. They knew they didn't have a chance
Mhm.
again getting charges on, where they could have had. They could, if instead of focusing your energy on a I wish I could, I hope I can case, they could have focused all that energy on the stuff they had in front of them, but they didn't because it was against black women, and that's not a big deal to them. They wanted to focus on the Fed line stuff and everything else, but the focus was never Cassie. The focus was never the things that was happening to these women allegedly. That was never the focus. Just so y'all are clear. Just to be clear, that was never the focus. The focus was this dude got too much money, too much influence, and we don't like that shit. So let's take him down for other reasons.
Thank you. You and I spoke about this when the charges first came out. We both said the same thing at that point. Based on the evidence that they had provided us at that time, because that was right after the raid of the house and all the pictures and all the talk about the baby oil and tapes. We said at that time, just based on what they've shown so far, it's not enough. Right? And but we also reserve the right to know, listen, unless they provide more stuff, just on which I got right now, it's not enough. This ain't gonna do it. This case, right, to me, was never about trying to bring justice.
No.
This was always about, like you said, he has too much influence, he has too much power, and let's find a way to tarnish his name and knock him down.
Humble that boy. Humble that boy.
That's all this was.
Up top, that's what they say. That not that man, humble that boy.
That's all this was about. And in doing that, they created this divide now between men and women, because most women are furious that he's found not guilty on 3 to 5 charges. Most men, right, are talking the way you and I are talking. And what this case really proved is that women were still trying to use their feelings as opposed to looking at the facts. As you mentioned, Diddy a fucked up individual. We not excusing his behavior. We're not saying that he was anything better than what we saw what he was. But guess what? We know Diddy been a fucked up individual for years, for decades. This ain't the first instance of it. This is not the first instance. Go back and look at the research, how he handled the situation when he threw a party in the 90s at a community college in New York where the people died at. He showed no remorse then, when it was his fault that they oversold the event and people got.
Was that at John Jay?
Nah. That was at a City College.
Okay.
Wasn't at John Jay. He showed.
I know one of them smaller giants.
Right. Okay. He showed no remorse then. He showed no remorse for the young lady who got shot in the face when he made Sean take the charge. Right? Yep. So Diddy has never shown remorse for his actions in the past, and we've known that. But this case wasn't about the domestic violence. People were trying to use, we saw the tape, he beat Cassie. Yeah, but that's not what he on trial for. Right. Also, keep in mind, Cassie never brought up criminal charges against Puff. She didn't press charges against Puff. This was Homeland Security taking it upon themselves, because when he settled out of court with her, and then the transcripts became public, and they saw the things that she was talking about, they took it upon themselves to start investigating him. That's why when they raided his home, everybody was shocked. Like, why are the feds raiding Puff's home? Up until that point, we had never had no clue of anything going on. The feds and the media is guilty of this too. The media used a lot of trigger words that created the narrative that he had to be guilty, right? Because most people, when they heard sex trafficking, they assumed that it had to do with children. They assumed that women was being held against their will and forced to perform sex.
And remember, me and you both said, nah, that ain't what it is. Chicks got flued out. Correct. And remember, I remember distinctly on your show, I said, yo, I'm guilty. If you guilty, if you guilty of flying a chick in and you smash, if that's trafficking, whoa.
Every
whoa, adult, I'm guilty too.
Every adult man who has dealt with a woman in some capacity is guilty of it. Because if you like, and I use the example, if you was out in Miami and met a shorty and y'all cool, or you met her in LA and then you say, yo, come back to my hometown, hang out for the weekend.
Yeah, you did bring that up. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that conversation vividly.
Right. So, but they use wording that made people assume that it was worse than what it was. Right. My biggest beef with this whole situation, though, and this is what I've explained to multiple women that I spoke to that were mad about, I'm like, y'all didn't pay attention to the details. There is no such thing in the history. Shout out to Pooh. Pooh said, shit, I've been flown out a few times. LOL. That's sex trafficking, Pooh.
Pooh? Hey, Pooh. I hope Pops ain't watching tonight. Is Pops watching tonight?
Yeah. Please.
Go ahead. He don't want to hear
please,
that. Yeah, Pops don't want to hear that. I promise
walk into the other room, Pooh. Don't please. But,
Pooh, wow, with it.
But this is also the part that I've explained to multiple women that I've had conversations with about this. There's never been in the history of indictments for RICO a one-man RICO.
Yeah.
Because it does not exist. A RICO is a criminal organization. So I've been saying for months, if this is a RICO, who are his co-defendants?
Right. And you think the dude saying that the top's going to catch all the shrapnel? Hell nah.
Right.
Like it was all the Shamir camp. Well, I don't want to dismiss the. To me, this whole thing didn't need to occur. The women that took part of the things. If you know, were they drugged? Clearly, they weren't, right?
So Cassie said she was not drugged, but she stated that she used drugs to kind of cope with what was going on. But
so it's adult choices.
Correct. And they're parts of the testimony. They're parts in the testimony. Shout out to Vern. Vern just texted me because I texted him earlier. I told him we was gonna have this conversation if he was able to join.
Oh, the counselor event?
Yeah,
the counselor
I would have loved to get Vern on the show to have this conversation, and maybe we'll still get him on at some point. He just texted me back because he's busy in the midst of a court case right now that he's dealing with.
Guilty. No, just like, I hope you heard that, Vern.
And then this is why I say the media has been very strategic and about what parts of the conversation, what parts of the testimony they want to put out. Cassie is on tape threatening to kill somebody who found out about the freak offs. The media rarely talked about it. Only smaller outlets released the audio where she threatens, and then without saying Puff's name, she kind of implies, I don't even have to do it. I have somebody else who can get rid of you.
Well, now,
also,
it's all front to the what they say. It's all front to the rabbit get the gun.
Also, shout out to Cam. You know, we big fans of Cam. It is what it is. One of the most entertaining shows out there. When they had the Punisher, pause, on the show, the guy, he said himself that most of his conversations and interactions were with Cassie directly.
Yeah, she handled everything.
Right. And he said even this is the part that stuck out the most to me, because even on the show, Cam and him was a little confused. He said in their first interaction, right, Puff did not ask them to have sex. Puff wanted them to kind of just role play and like create this fantasy. When it was over, Puff walks out the room. The Punisher didn't know it was Puff because he said Puff at the time was wearing a mask, so he couldn't tell who it was, right? If you haven't listened, I'm gonna tell you right now. If you haven't listened or watched to it, it's the funniest 45 minutes you're gonna find, because the question. I don't want to steal their content. What they did was ill, but check it out. But in their first interaction, right, she sends him a message, and she's not obviously identifying herself as Cassie. She's identifying herself as a married woman who her husband is allowing her to have a fun night, and they want to hire him. The guy comes to the house, to the hotel. He says it didn't click that it was Cassie, but she definitely looked familiar. But it didn't click that it was her. She just looked familiar. I thought she was some wealthy woman. She tells him, hey, look, my husband's going to come in the room and just watch us. In that interaction, he says they never had sex. That Puff would give her orders and just say, hey, look, I want you to touch him here. I want him to touch you here. Y'all going to put baby oil on each other. Crazy, crazy shit. But check it. This is the kicker. This is the part that stuck out to me. They never have sex. Puff walks out the room. She walks out the room behind Puff, comes back into the room and says, oh, he loved it. That was amazing. If you want to finish, we can. But Puff wasn't in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's probably what pissed him off.
No, check it. The dude said himself, he was so thrown off by the interaction because he didn't expect, at the time he didn't know it was Puff, he didn't expect dude to stay in the room so long. So he was like, nah, I'm good. He said we did not have sex the first time they paid me to come over there because he thought it was a very awkward environment. But he said himself, Puff was out of the room and she came back in and said, we can finish if you want to finish.
Wow.
So again, when they provide text messages where Cassie is telling Puff, I can't wait for the next freak off. I want to get fucked so bad. Part of my language, y'all, but we at that point of the show. I told you at the beginning of the show, we're gonna get to a point where the language is gonna get very adult. When they got text messages showing that she's initiating these conversations, you can't tell me Puff is forcing you to do these things. Did he beat her ass? Absolutely. We saw that on camera. But you can't tell me he's forcing you to do all these things he's claiming he's forcing you to do. Again, Cassie never brought up criminal charges against Puff. Cassie also, I don't think, is the victim that everybody makes her out to be. Was she beat? Yes. She was a victim of domestic violence. Absolutely. But if you look at the track record, and a lot of people are not going to like this. I know they're not going to like this. Well, she was dating Ryan Leslie when she met Puff. She cheated on Ryan Leslie for Puff. Puff was her come-up, right?
To get put on.
Right. She cheated.
I wasn't even going to bring that up. Yeah.
No, but we have to, and I'm going to tell you why. She cheats on Ryan Leslie to get with Puff. She cheats on Puff with Kid Cudi, and Kid Cudi testified that she lied to him because she told him, yeah, me and Puff are no longer a thing. We are done. Somebody from Puff's camp found out about it and approached Kid Cudi and told him, like, yo, you know that's Puff's girl. And Kid Cudi was like, nah, she told me they was done. That's when Puff shows up at his house. And then Kid Cudi even testified when Puff showed up at his house making the threats and was talking about blowing up his car. Kid Cudi started backtracking, trying to figure out how the fuck did you even get my address? Cassie gave me the address.
Right.
Then she leaves Puff for their personal trainer. Her current husband now was their personal trainer. Her and the personal trainer leave. Puff wished him well. She said so herself. The personal trainer even said when Puff found out that we were dating, he gave his blessing. Then almost 10 years later, when you realize you can't live the lifestyle anymore, you come up with the civil suit.
Right. It's all bogus, man. I mean,
which then led to this bullshit RICO. It was never a
right,
RICO.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say. That's why it all led to that. They're like, well, what else we got?
There was nothing.
And they was hoping somebody was gonna slip. They were hoping somebody was gonna come forward. Nah, none of that happened. And like we said, when did allegations come out? Like a year, 2 years ago? It's been a minute.
About a little over a year.
Yeah, so back then, both of us, we was like, well, being a freak ain't illegal. And apparently 12 of his peers decided the same thing. Being a freak ain't illegal. Now, he did catch the prostitution? Engaging in prostitution. And why did he even catch that charge? Because crossed state lines?
That and because Jane Doe, who we know the identity's already been let out, that's 50 Cent baby mother. She testified that he was paying her an allowance of $10,000 a month. And when she told him that she no longer felt comfortable doing the freak offs, he said, no problem, but I'm gonna cut your allowance. So
it was one of them, like,
yeah. So and to me, that in itself is a little bullshit too, because again, that's a scenario where now you're choosing to be a sex worker.
Mm-hmm.
If the man is telling you, yo, you can walk away anytime you want, but you're just not gonna keep the money I'm giving you, and then you decide to keep freaking off and let him pimp you out, pretty much that's what it turned out to, because she even testified. She testified that, listen, we're gonna keep it a buck. We the opinionated ones. He was letting dudes run trains on him.
Right.
So that's the prostitution. Right. That's the prostitution.
So that's crazy though. If because that's flimsy to me. When you were coming with fair charges, and like when the news first broke, I was like, oh damn, he gonna be out for sure by next summer. And then when I got more news and more, I was like, damn, he might be home for supper tonight.
So
he might be home for supper, not dinner.
Yeah.
Suffer.
I'm gonna put this. They already put out the news. So Tyson said, "How much prison time will he get?" So as of right now, the sentencing is set for October 3rd. They denied his bail. That news had broke right
Oh,
before we went on live. So he got to stay until to October 3rd. Right now, they're not even going to get him. Originally, the prosecution was trying to get him on 10 years. They've already said it's not going to be 10 years. He's already served 10 months. They're trying to
I was
add
about to say it might not be 10 months. He gonna
So
get time served in maybe a couple months.
So check it. He's got 10 months already served. By the time we get to October, he would have had a year served. They were trying to get him on 41 total months. I think when they go to sentencing on October 3rd, he's gonna get time served.
Time served and walk. He gonna walk out. George Jefferson strolling on him down the courtroom steps.
That's
gonna be crazy. Yeah. And then he gonna go on the biggest get back tour of all time.
Shout out to Pooh. She said Cassie was something else, wasn't she? Yeah, I think, like I said, she's a victim of domestic violence, and we don't take that lightly. I'm not making a joke of that, but some of her behavior in some of these other instances is what I'm calling into question.
He wasn't the strongest witness. Was the problem?
Yeah,
he wasn't the strongest witness.
And I'm gonna be honest, man. To me, she's the biggest loser in all this because now all your dirty laundry gets aired out.
You didn't have a career no more.
Yeah, your career was already done, and now all your dirty laundry gets aired out. And serious question, Will, as a man, if you were her husband, could you stay with her after all this?
Oh, hell no. As her anything I couldn't. Come on,
I'm just
that
saying,
a real question?
No, because again, we got to talk about it.
She was basically a beanbag for that dude, man. Ain't no way. Not a pincushion. I had the old reference mixed up. She was a pincushion for that dude, man. Ain't no way. Nah.
I'm the guy who I'm Captain Saberho now.
Oh, come on. Is that you?
I'm just saying. No, that's what he becomes at this point, right?
Oh yeah. If you go that route.
Because real question, like serious shit. You can't have no family gatherings now. Oh
nah. You can't have nothing.
Nothing. That's what I'm saying. Everybody know my wife's business. Like it's one thing. No. It's one thing. Of course, there's plenty of men out here. There's plenty of men out here who don't know their wife's past, right? She might have been a freak in college, whatever. But you don't know it though. You ain't got to live that day to day. He got to live with this every day moving forward now.
What you don't know won't kill you, right? But
basically, because we all got a pass. Let's keep it a buck. We all got a pass.
But everybody gonna know.
But when
everybody know.
When my family know your past.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about at work today with my homies. Diddy, like, all right, he beat the Rico, but ain't no company gonna touch you no more. Like your business career is over. Take the money you got left and go chill on some island somewhere, and you can have all the freak offs you want off American soil. Do all that shit over there, because who gonna rock with you anymore as far as a businessman? Nobody.
They will, but he won't. He can
really?
Never be. Yes.
I mean, they was already dropping him before this came out.
Yes, but listen, he has great business acumen. He can never be the front man. Like he can't. There will be a company who will say, look, we will pay you to help us build this brand behind the scenes. You can't be the pitch man. You can't be the front man. It can't be like Ciroc. But behind the scenes, listen.
So if he secretly bring FUBU back, then kudos to him. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't see nobody coming within 10 foot clothing.
I'm gonna say this right now. We might have to bookmark this. This is the 54-minute mark of this episode. Let's say he gets.
I gotta get going anyway.
Yeah, we're about to let you go. If he gets out in October, and we mysteriously see a brand new liquor brand that starts taking off around Christmas time, Puff is behind the scenes promoting.
It's gonna be what's it gonna be called? Oily nipple. Because how you come back from having dudes having Cassie rub other dudes jizz in your nipples, and that's crazy. It ain't who's rocking with what business is rocking with jizzy nipple. Who rocking with jizzy nipple?
Bro, there's people. If R. Kelly was out now, there's people that still fuck R. Kelly. if all these music, come on, all these music execs had some shit behind the scenes that people may not know about, that only those within the inner circle knew about. But again, the business is the business. You want to take one more question before you go?
Yeah, for sure.
Tyson, I think this is the one. This is the one he's talking about. My question to y'all: where's his homies Mary J. Blige, Jay-Z, French Montana, Meek Mill? There was distance. Well, I'll say this.
Let me jump
Go
in.
ahead, Will.
And that's what I told you earlier. Remember, I said, and when I texted earlier, me and Eric been texting about this all day since the news came. And I said, Diddy about to go on the biggest get back tour of all time. Everybody that turned his back, all his quote unquote friends that turned their backs on him, wouldn't take his calls no more, didn't have no more affiliation. You think every day he was in jail, he wasn't taking notes? Like remember in what was that, Billy Madison, when the dude was making the list of people he needed to kill, you know what I'm saying? And Billy Madison made right with him, so he crossed Billy Madison's name off the list. Yeah, and then he started putting the list. Yo, everybody that turned their back on Diddy, everybody that didn't take his calls no more and had claimed to have no affiliation with him, he about to go scorched earth on everybody that didn't have his back. All them tapes and everything that was from all them freak offs, it's gonna be some names dropped. He's like, all right, I'm back now. And remember you was at this party, and you was at this party, and you was at that party, and y'all distance yourself from me. I'm taking names and I'm dropping them. Diddy about to go off on everybody. Everybody didn't have his back. He about to come for him. Pause.
I think in a public eye they turn their back on him, but I don't think they really turn their back on him. I think business wise, and Diddy knows this too, because he had to do it to shine. And then later on they passed it up. I think what they all let it be known is like, look, for the time being, I got to keep my distance. Once this is all resolved, then we can go back to handling business and talking. But for right now, I got to keep my distance. And that's no different than, I'm going to use a cross reference. That's no difference if you and I both in the street doing our thing. We might not be part of the same crew, but we know each other and we cool. You catch a charge. I got to keep my distance now. You hot right now. I got to keep my distance. I'm not turning my back on you. You still my man. But just understand that for the sake of business and the sake of my own name and freedom, I got to keep my distance. So I think a lot of these cats didn't really turn their back on Puff. I just think they kept their distance. They didn't speak on it. They let it go and then say, look, when it's all said and done, we could circle back 2 years from now once everything calms down. But for the time being, I can't be out here publicly claiming you as my friend and my business partner, knowing that right now anybody's guilty by association.
I think he gonna be coming for post pause, man. I think
no. There's gonna be some people. Yes, there will be some people, but I think there's a lot of people that probably relay the message on the low. Like, look, you know.
Whoa, actually, and on for real, I gotta go on this. Your man, you and Trip have had on the show 3 times. Yo, everybody better check on your homie, the security guard, man.
Oh, Big G.
He was dropping dimes. So he had a pocket full of change and cut it right at the bottom. He was dropping major dimes. Right or wrong. I mean, I'm not speaking no way against him or for him.
No.
But he was vocal.
Gene has been very vocal for years about Puff, about a lot of things. I'm not gonna say something on air. We'll talk off air whenever you want to have the conversation. There's something that Gene said that I think is gonna bite Gene in the ass, but I'm not gonna say it on air because again, I don't want to instigate a situation, and I don't want to be out of pocket in what I say if it's not completely true. So, Will, you and I have that conversation.
But he a perfect example of a dude where I'm like, all right, if you had your stance and had what you had to say about Puff when it would look like it was all bad for him, and now he beat it all, basically. Pause. Now what is your state? Hey, I gotta do that, bro. Like, you ain't nobody gonna have no violence.
At least
Ain't nobody,
at least you got to the pause very quickly.
ain't nobody gonna have no viral clip of me saying nothing wild, bro. You gonna have some super editing ability because Cam and Mace got me super cautious of the things that could be misconstrued in 2025 social media. But Gene is one of them people I was talking about that's probably like, all right, lock the doors. All right, close the blinds.
I think
because there's about to be something crazy going on.
I got a lot of respect for Gene. I've said it plenty of times.
I know you do. That's what, but still, he was mad vocal.
Of course, but hear me out. Gene and Puff's issues go further back than just what we've seen the last couple of years. Like I said, Gene, and there's like I said, there's been conversations we've had with Gene off camera where Gene has known Puff for damn near 40 years.
Right, since Howard.
Even before Howard, because he knew him from the neighborhood.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it was always the big brother, little brother aspect. From Gene's perspective, and what I've always took from that was that there was a lot of disappointment and anger from Gene and how Puff has handled a lot of these situations.
But that's why I would have rather not heard from him at all.
I understand,
but you know what I mean? Going back that far.
I know, but hear me out. Gene has had to bear the cross of being held responsible for Biggie's death when it wasn't his fault. He was the head of security, and a lot of people blame Gene. And Gene said himself, when he first touched back down in New York, the first person that approached him was Miss Wallace. And Gene had to have the tough conversation when the emotions were still raw. He had to have the conversation with the mom who's mourning the death of her 24-year-old son.
Right.
And so that's why I say him and Puff's issues are deeper than just like some of the stuff he's talked about. It's like, yo, bro, you hung me out to dry, bro. You left Cali after Big was killed. Gene wasn't on that flight with you. You left him in Cali. You left Junior Mafia in Cali. You left all them dudes in Cali. They had to figure out a way to get back home. Granted, you know, they have bread. They get the flight back home. And so you dealing with that. You dealing with everything that's going on in Cali. And the moment you touch down in the city, you got to be the one to have the conversation with Big's mom.
Yeah, that's wild.
So that's why I say Gene has always said that his issue with Puff stems back to the situations that Puff has put him in. Like I said, Gene was there that night at City College when those people were trampled. Gene has been around for a lot of the shit that Puff left behind for other people to clean up. And Gene got to a point where he felt like, yo, I'm tired of covering for your ass. I'm tired of trying to be the guy standing next to you and help you get through these situations. And then you keep leaving me out to dry.
Yeah.
So I'm sure no matter what the verdict was, Gene is not going to change his stance on the relationship with Puff.
I get that.
And I understand where you're coming from too. It might have been better to
my
just
whole
not
thing
say
would have been is don't say shit.
Yeah.
Don't talk at all. That's just my like. And I don't got no ill. Like I don't know that dude. I don't got nothing ill towards him or nothing like that. I'm just saying if it was me, and if I'm in that situation, it's my homies or my work situation or whatever. I'm gonna do I fly under the radar, man. I don't jump out there. I keep my name out of it. I don't like if it ain't got nothing to do with me. I ain't got nothing to do with it. You know what I'm saying? So and if somebody asks, like I'm sure you know people asked him about situations and about stuff. You can ask me everything you want. That don't mean I'm gonna come out here and give you answers.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. Listen. So I mean, I'm not no ill will towards this dude.
Yeah,
I'm just saying if it was me, it's no comment all day.
I agree with that too. I think, like I said, I think Gene has painted himself into a little bit of a corner. Like I said, if you look at a lot of the interviews he's done with Art of Dialogue, I think Gene at this point has done too many interviews because there's certain, like I said, you and I'm not going to say it on air, but the footage is out there. People can
I'll get with you. Yeah,
people could look at the Art of Dialogue because there's a couple things he said there that even I had to reach out to Trip because I'm like, yo, bro, I think Gene painted himself into a bad corner at this point. And like I said, we'll talk. Tyson wants to know.
Hey, I got a
vote. Yo, bro, appreciate you. You know what I'm saying, locking in for a little bit. Enjoy
Absolutely,
your
man.
Birthday, man. Hope you have a great time.
Shout out to all the followers. Everybody be chiming in all the time. Shout out to everybody. Tyson, school, pool, everybody to be chiming in. Keep rocking with this summer's gonna be crazy. Fit Awards round 1 next week, and we're gonna come with the comments. It's gonna be nuts.
Yo, pause. We out. Yo, you can. We'll enjoy.
Super pause. Super duper pause.
Let me get you out of here. Appreciate Will stopping in. Tyson, Eric, has Gene seen Puffy in person since? Yeah, after the infamous night in LA, I'm not sure how quickly after. I know they did talk. Gene even had agreed to go back and work with Bad Boy for a little bit on a part-time basis. And then that didn't last too long. I believe Big was 96 when he passed away, 1996. And I believe Gene went back and worked with Bad Boy on a part-time basis for a little bit up until like 98. I know he wasn't with Puff anymore when the Shine incident happened, the shooting in the club. So they did see each other. And like I said, they still have a lot of mutual friends, whatever, the case may be from that point on. Let me get him out again. But yeah, I don't think they've spoken in over 20 plus years. I'm sure friends have tried to relay messages back and forth. But yeah, guys, like I said, I thought the situation with the case, it was a witch hunt. They wanted to smear his name. They wanted to try to just tarnish his image. It was a very bad approach by the federal government. Were there crimes committed? Absolutely. And I want people to understand that. I'm not defending Puff. I was not rooting for him one way or the other. I'm just standing on the take and the stance that I have from jump. Yeah, Tyson, 97, Big dies 97, and then 98, early 99, I think Gene's is no longer working for him at all. I know when we spoke, I kind of asked him that as well. He was saying that, like I said, he went back for a very short time on a part-time basis because Gene had worked with a lot of artists, and Gene was, had his own job, his own career, I should say, along with doing security and working different clubs and working with different people. So they had conversations, but then that was the end of it. But in terms of the case, like I said, the federal government went about it the wrong way. There were crimes committed. Yes, there were crimes committed. But I think they jumped out of the window very quickly. I think the way they handled it was very poor because they tried to play it out in the court of public opinion. And in the court of public opinion, yeah, Puff is guilty to most people. And Puff will never live down what took place on that video of him beating Cassie. He'll never live down, all of the dirty secrets coming out now and his fetishes and whatever else came out during the trial. But court of public opinion isn't what puts somebody behind bars. And that's why I firmly believe that this was all meant to just embarrass him as an individual, tarnish the brand, knock you down a few pedestals, let you understand that you're not as powerful as you think you are. That's all I saw from this. They loved to highlight when they raided the house that they found all these secret tapes of different people having sex and all the baby oil. And then we find out later on it was not nearly as much baby oil as they claimed. And yet we never heard about who was on any of those tapes. And that was something else that I talked about too, that when they highlighted, who could be on those tapes, I knew that was going to be very tough to admit to present in court, because if anyone was secretly recorded, or even if they weren't secretly recorded, if they can just hide behind the defense of, I didn't know I was being recorded, so therefore you could never release the tapes. That's the end of the conversation. You can't secretly record anybody. So as long as you could hide behind that stance and that defense of, I didn't know I was being recorded, you were never going to know who was on those tapes. And we're never going to know. We're never going to find out unless somebody steals the tapes or unless the tapes get leaked or, some sort of blackmail situation happens. But the federal government didn't handle this correctly. And I feel like they rushed the trial. They needed better witnesses. It's tough to bring in Jane Does who are admitting that Puff is paying them an allowance. And yeah, they're partaking in orgies and freak offs. And yeah, they could say all they want, hey, I wasn't happy about doing it, but You kept collecting the 10K a month. You kept the gifts. You kept living the lifestyle. So those were weak witnesses. And I think that's where the federal government went wrong here. Also, I never understood, and I've said it multiple times, and I said it earlier tonight. How is it a RICO when there are no co-defendants? And no one has answered that. That's the part that still bugs me out about this whole situation. How is it a RICO and he has no co-defendants? For those of you that may not be familiar with how the RICO works, look it up. It was created to bring down the mob, to be able to prove that a criminal organization is all working together. So if you're committing one crime and you're committing one crime, and the federal government can prove that you two guys, along with myself, are all committing crimes together to profit and benefit each other, that becomes your RICO. So I asked, who are his co-defendants? Why were there never any co-defendants that were ever presented? Why was it only Diddy on trial? And in some instances, it almost felt like Cassie and Daphne Joy, who listed as Jane Doe, were really his co-defendants, but they were probably granted some sort of immunity for their testimony. Because if they're the ones who are reaching out to escorts, if they're the ones who, and Cassie, and I meant to mention this when Will was on the live, Cassie talked about picking up drugs for the freak off. She highlighted that when she was in California, she would get with Ray J. She name dropped Ray J in there and said, I would go get drugs for Ray J that I would bring back to the freak offs. That to me sounds like a co-defendant. And yet she was granted immunity. And I think that's why she never brought up criminal charges against Puff. I think that's why she went the civil route, right? Granted, it's more profitable to do the civil suit and get the $20 million. She got from $30 million, something like that. And I think she also just got another settlement from the hotel once they found out how the tape was leaked and was given to Puffy. But I think she knew that had she brought criminal charges against Puff, she would have incriminated herself. And so she never wanted to go that route. She went the civil route. And now in this court case, I should say, she, to me, comes across as somebody who could have been listed as a co-defendant and was probably granted immunity. There was a lot of fumbles on the plate. The federal government did a bad job of presenting this case. And I think ultimately when they go to sentencing on October 3rd, Diddy's going to get hit with time served. He's going to have a year already served at that point. Like I said, as of today, he served 10 months. The prosecution is looking to add on 41 months to that. So total of 51 months, 4.5 years total. He's already going to have a year served. Unless they can really prove that he is a danger to society, and that's going to be tough to really prove. I know that's why the judge is denying his bail. I think, and even in this instance, it's kind of shaky that they're even holding him without bail at this point because all the serious charges he's been found not guilty of. And the 2 prostitution charges stem from women he was actually in a relationship with. If you want to say he was pimping them out, very fair. But I don't think that labels you as a menace to society. I think this is the federal government's way of trying to like save face and like, oh, we were able to hold him for a year. And then whatever happens at that point, it happens. Again, the backlash won't be as severe. People won't be talking about the case as much. But I just don't think there was much here anyway from the jump. They used wording that made people feel that the crimes were more severe than they were. I've always said when they talked about sex trafficking, people assumed that there were children involved. At no point in this case have they presented evidence that children were ever involved. These were all adults. And the 2 main people were women he was in a relationship with. So if you want to say he was pimping them out, yeah, he was pimping them out. You want to say Puff's a fucked up individual? Absolutely. He was beating Cassie on tape. We saw that. There's a history of him abusing women. There's been talk he did it to Kim Porter. Again, there's a lot of evidence of that as well. And I think we've known for a long time Puff was a fucked up individual. This ain't the first instance of it. But the RICO, no. And like I said, men and women are divided on this conversation. I think a lot of women let their feelings lead them in this case. I think a lot of men focused on the facts. I'm not saying either side is right or wrong. I just think that men looked at it from the standpoint of these are the facts that they're presenting. And I think a lot of women looked at it like, this is how I feel about it. In conversations I've had with my wife, with other women in my life, my mother, a lot of women felt like because he was a bad guy, he was on tape beating Cassie, he should go to jail. But that's not what the charges were. He was not being brought up on domestic violence. Again, guys, I think, and I also think too, this case, man, I wish Will could have stayed on longer, because I think this case shined a light on something that's really relevant in our society. And it's a conversation that a lot of people have, or a lot of podcasts present, I should say, not a lot of people have, where we live in a society now where a lot of women want to be pampered, want to, this 50-50 conversation. Women don't want to go 50-50, men feel like they should, or whatever the case may be. Women feel like a man should cater to you and keep you beautiful and do all these things, hair, nails, lashes, all that good stuff. There's men who feel like that's tricking. I think this case proved that. That is tricky, because you see what the expectations are. And I think it shines a light on a lot of these women that flaunt their lifestyle on social media, because a lot of these women behind the scenes are living no different than what Cassie and Daphne Joy had to experience. A lot of these women behind the scenes is dealing with dudes who's treating them like shit, who might be pimping them out, who might be forcing them to do things they really don't want to do, right? But they want to live a lifestyle, and they don't want to change that lifestyle. They don't want to give up what they're getting. They don't want to give up the look, the appearance of what it looks like on social media for everybody else to judge me that thinks I'm living a life. But it's true. A lot of them are dealing with situations just like this. You hope that a situation like this will make women wake up a little bit. And I'm sure there's some men out there too that could wake up from this situation and be like, man, I got to cut that shit out. This shit ain't healthy for me. But there's a lot of people that, you know what I'm saying, they are just, what's the right word for it? They victims to the culture. They victims to the appearance of what success is. To think Daphne Joy was getting paid $10K a month to be a sex worker, pretty much. It's only 120 grand a year. There's jobs out here that you can make more than that and not have to compromise your morals. And to think that she was doing it, and then when Puff said, hey, I'm gonna have to cut your allowance, she didn't hesitate to keep doing it. Mind you, she was already getting child support for 50. So you're not broke. You're already getting money. You probably have a big enough name and influence to make money on social media. But that 10K from Puff was just too appealing. And you know what? It was too easy. It was too easy. Yeah, man. And there's still so many layers to it. I'm sure we'll be talking about it more next week. We'll be talking more about it on Monday as well, man. Shout out to the supporters. Y'all were rocking with us. The comment section was crazy tonight. It was flowing. Instagram, I do apologize. It got cut off before we got to the Puffy conversation. And as I was trying to link it back up, it was giving some trouble here. And I didn't want to knock off the original live stream for the sake of just getting it back on Instagram. So we'll try to work out those technical difficulties, be back on Instagram next week. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the podcast over on YouTube. Again, it's the Sanchez Show. Legend in Two Games. You see the handle right there at the bottom of the screen. Make sure you guys shoot me a follow, shoot me a comment, like the content, subscribe to the Sanchez Show. If you're feeling generous, contribute. You saw the Cash App up there a minute ago. Contribute to the Sanchez Show, man, because this summer, as we just getting started, and this winter, we got some great things lined up. We got some special things. Got a couple road trips already planned. We might be in a city near you. We might be coming to a game or a stadium or an arena near you. It's already in the works. So show some support, man. If I'm in your city, I'll let you know. I'll pull up on you. Shout out to my brother Trip Young. We're going to be back on Monday night. Again, shout out to my brother Will Gordon. Hope he's enjoying his son's birthday tonight. He and I will be back next Wednesday. Guys, enjoy your 4th of July weekend. Again, appreciate all the support. I am Eric Sanchez, a.k.a. Legend in Two Games. This is the Sanchez Show on Wednesday night. We out of here.